Here with the starting command, the grandkids of track owner Don DeWitt.
Drivers, start your engines!
Race time at Berlin Raceway for the Rowdy 251. This time by, coming off of turn 4, everybody get up. Everybody stand up on your feet. It's time to get rowdy at Berlin Raceway for the ARCA CRA Super Series Rowdy 251, the 4th running of this event. We've had 2 different winners over the 3 years previous, Kyle Busch and Brian Campbell, both in tonight's starting field, or will we see a new winner? We've had other drivers in the past couple of years compete for the championship of this event, but we've had drivers come up short with bad luck. Guys like Johnny Van Dorn, guys like Terry Van Heidsma, Ross Kenseth comes to mind. Some guys that really had a car at one point or another to win, but is having the car for the complete 251 laps. Who will that driver be tonight?
Talking about Kyle Busch. The very first race here for the Rowdy race, he didn't win. So what they do, they named it Rowdy's Revenge for the second year. And sure enough, Kyle Busch got that revenge, and he liked winning here at Berlin so much, he did it again last year. Will he do it again tonight? He's got a strong field waiting to steal the thunder from old Rowdy Busch. And Brian Campbell, you can't count him out. He was the only other winner besides Kyle of this event. He's going to have to come from deep in the field, and he gave the fans on Speed51.com an in-car view. And I know Travis Pastrana went home last night and actually studied Brian Campbell's in-car video to make sure he knew how to run around this place. And I got a feeling, Brian's the king of this place. He's won a lot of races. I bet a lot of other guys were watching that in-car video trying to learn how to drive this place like Brian does.
If you look at the starter stand, the 1 to go signal is in the air. 1 lap, and we will be green flag racing for the 4th running of the Rowdy 251. Tom Thomas, Chris Anthony, row 1, Brandon Hermiller, Alec Carl, row 2, Seth Moody, Daniel Hemrick, row 3, Chad Finley, Ross Kenseth in row 4, Terry Seneker and Travis Brayton in row 5. Some of the better qualifiers, Tim DeVos and Terry Van Heidsma, row 6, Chase Elliott and Ross Musen, row 7, and row 8, the 2 fast qualifiers, Kyle Busch and Johnny Van Dorn. They roll a 4 for the green.
Pace car is off. Flagman waves the emerald, and we are racing in the Rowdy 251, the 4th annual edition here at Berlin Raceway. A lot of checking up in the back of the pack, but up front, everybody's now racing down the backstretch as Chris Anthony is your early leader into 3.
Anthony strong in that second groove for the opening start. They complete lap number 1 at the line. Clean and green at Berlin Raceway for the 4th running of the Rowdy 251, and Anthony already up to a 10-car length lead off of 2.
Tom Thomas settles in second, side by side. It looks like a whole restart still going on now 2 laps into this race from 3rd on back. Brandon Hermiller, Alec Carl side by side. Daniel Hemrick and the 48 of Seth Moody as well. All side by side from 3rd on back.
Side by side for that number 3 position. Hermiller running the bottom lane. As they go to turn 3, he starts to take the advantage on Carl, but middle of the corner, Carl rolls the corner well, comes off of 4. He will try to cross the stripe in 3rd. He's just inches short of it. Trouble in 4. All kinds of cars piling in. Big damage to Lambert. Big damage to Jones. The 24 of Van Dyke with damage to the right front suspension. Kennedy involved. The 21 of Jones involved. Also there, the 84 of Newick and one other stopped up along the outside retaining wall. For green, 3 laps complete.
Pace truck is off. Crowd comes to their feet. We are back racing here at Berlin Raceway again. 2-3 wide back in the pack. But Chris Anthony in that 55 machine gets a great restart. He clears the field by 4 car lengths side by side behind him.
You mentioned 3 lanes earlier. Tom Thomas put his car just about outside of those 3 lanes. Nearly allowed Carl to make it 3 wide behind him. He loses 1 spot, maybe 2, maybe more. Thomas, the outside pole sitter, sliding back.
He needs no introduction around these parts here. Has been a long-time crew chief, car owner here between Outlaw Cars and Template-bodied cars, and his son Chad Blunt, a former regular in the Nationwide Series.
And a battle for the lead coming off of 2 as Kenseth goes to the outside of Moody. Moody has led the last several laps, but Kenseth now strong in the second groove, and Ross Kenseth will take the number 1 spot. Sideways off of 4 was Moody. He tries to stay low in 1 and 2.
They got by the 21 machine of Kyle Jones to put him a lap down, and now off the turn number 2, Ross Kenseth is your leader. 2 car lengths. He clears the 48 machine of Moody. And now Kenseth pulls it right down to the bottom off of turn 4 as Ross Kenseth, originally from Illinois, now leading here at Berlin Raceway.
33 laps in the books. Kenseth leading. And within just a matter of a few laps, he's going to catch the back of a huge pack of race cars, the whole second half of the field that will be trying to stay on the lead lap as well as moving their way forward. You know, the spotters are saying, hey, guys, at the back of the field, you've got to go. If you don't go, the leader's going to catch you. You need to put some cars between yourself and the leader, and it could get hairy in front of Ross Kenseth.
Double file action just ahead of our leader at the tail end of the field. But I know a lot of people have an eye right now on the 9 machine, which got trouble on the racetrack. Chad Finley slows to a snail's pace on the front stretch. We stay green, but Finley is coming to pit road in that 42 machine.
Looked like something on the backstretch braking. Saw smoke come from the 42 of Finley, second generation racer. Chad, I guess there was a reason this year they put the big invert pills in, and we've got caution. Trouble off of 2. Van Heitzma's gone off the track. So is Moody in the 48. The reason? Driver door exposed coming off of the corner. It's Jay Niewick in the 84. The car looks to be clean. No major damage to the Niewick ride, and the Cutlerville, Michigan pulls away after caution number 2 comes out on lap 98.
A lot of strategy coming down in these last 15 or so laps as we get the green flag off of turn number 4.
Back underway at Berlin Raceway. Kenseth and Van Dorn on the front row. Van Dorn on the outside lane slides his way into the lead. Kenseth stacking up the field behind him, still stays in the number 2 position. Thinking about 3 wide is Chase Elliott in the 9 and Kyle Busch in the 51.
Kenseth did not get a great restart. I don't know if he didn't get a great restart or if Johnny Van Dorn just didn't lift into 1 and 2, because man, did he get a great start on the outside. But now Kenseth has his hands full with another second-generation driver. Chase Elliott gets to the outside, and now the second spot around Ross Kenseth as Kyle Busch is looking for the spot as well.
Kenseth told his team earlier the car is just not turning, and you watch him come off of turn number 2. It looks like he really has to woe it down to keep it turning on the inside of Elliott. That being the case off of 2 this time. Chase Elliott clears him, takes second. Here to the outside comes the 51 of Kyle Busch.
Here comes Kyle Busch to the inside of Johnny Van Dorn for the lead.
Busch into the lead, the inside lane on the front stretch. Van Dorn trying to fight back. He can't. Off the second turn, Busch starts to pull away from the 61 of Van Dorn.
1 lap to halfway for Kyle Busch. He's catching up to Seth Moody in the 48 car. Does not have to pressure him at all as they come out of turns 3 and 4 to our leaders to the checkered flag. It will be Kyle Busch leading it halfway. Johnny Van Dorn second, Brian Campbell third, the 82 machine of Tom Thomas fourth, and fifth looks like will be Ross Musin here as we get the checkered flag, which is our halfway point. 10-minute break coming up here at Berlin Raceway.
Very importantly, the 21 car of Van Heitzma, who we saw very, very little of in that first half of the race, he put himself in the 6th position, so Van Heitzma rounding out the top 6. One of those 6 will be starting on the pole for the second half of the race. Coverage here on Speed51.com, and to you fans in the stands at Berlin Raceway, what a beautiful evening, a hot summer-like afternoon, temperatures in the 90s. Conditions have cooled somewhat, but still very warm tonight. Track conditions changing under the lights. And nightfall, and the Sam Pierce Chevrolet Pace truck will drop again to the infield. Johnny Van Dorn in the 61, a 2-time CRA champion, starts alongside a long-time regular at the track, the 21 of Van Heitzma, ready for action again at Berlin Raceway.
A couple of guys who know how to make that hard left-hand turn into victory lane will restart up front as the Emerald Waves are back racing. Great restart for Johnny Van Dorn. He will clear Kyle Busch down into turn 1. Busch settles into second, side by side with Musin and Van Heitzma for third. We saw nothing of Musin in the 99 car for much of the first half of the race. He got into the top 5 for the tail end. Now is in the number 3 spot, completing lap number 127. Leading the way is Van Dorn. Seneca wisely checking up if he would have made contact where he was on the track. Trouble in 1. Travis Pastrana gets sideways, drifts through the corner. We see a car going real fast out of the racetrack in turn 2. Almost climbed the Pastrana mountain there in turn number 2. I thought it was going to get real ugly there for a second. The 55 of Dave Lake almost looked like a throttle sticking issue, but he got it turned away from the dirt pile as well as the tire pile over in the second corner, and now picks up the pace and gets back on the raceway. Dave Lake just about demolished. The car is just not up to the speed it was earlier, and problems. We've got fluid coming out of the 48 of Seth Moody on the front stretch. Yellow. Big flume of smoke on the front straightaway heading into the first turn for one-time leader of this race, Seth Moody. He started 5th tonight, took the lead early on, and then struggled a little bit late in the first half of the race, and huge smoke coming out. Final 100 laps of racing at Berlin for the Rowdy 251. Back underway, and another good restart for Johnny Van Dorn, the Coopersville, Michigan driver, to the front of the pack. And DeVos tries to hold off a challenge from the 51 of
Kyle Busch. And it might be the 61 holding off a challenge now, as here comes DeVos to the outside lane in 4.
DeVos gets a great run on the high side center at 3 and 50 laps to go. Tim DeVos, Kyle Busch still side by side, but DeVos shuts the door in turn 1. Busch now has a rearview mirror full of Johnny Van Dorn. Top 5 cars bumper to bumper as 6th and 7th Ross Kenseth. We got a yellow. Ross Musen goes for a spin down the front stretch. Kenzie Rustin was right on his back bumper. Looks like still a little bit of contact from that earlier, or a little bit of damage from the earlier contact on Musen's right rear quarter panel.
Yeah, Musen had run well in the first half of the race, put himself into the draw in the top 6, but in the second half of the race, not so much. Not strong. The longtime veteran and former champion here at the track. 2:03 complete. Leading is DeVos.
Let's go downstairs now to Matt Preer.
Everybody coming into the pit. All the leaders of end. Johnny Van Dorn changing right side tires. Ross Musen back in the pit area. He's up and away. All the leaders have come in. Looks like a damage to the right front of Van Dorn. They're still working on that right front of the number 61 machine.
Green flag back out. Great restart for Thomas, but he's got a mirror full of Kyle Busch on those 2 new Dr. Feelgoods.
On the inside lane, it is Busch. He thinks about 3 wide. Does on the backstretch. 3 wide, racing into 3. Checking up is Thomas. Field stacks up behind him. We're clean and green still. Heading to 4. Elliott makes it 3 wide. Coming across the line, leader Kyle Busch, lap 2:13.
Tell you what, though, Hemrick's hanging in on those old tires on the high side. He settles now into the 2nd spot. Side by side for 3rd. Chase Elliott on the bottom. Brian Campbell on the high side.
Oh, trouble. Rustin into the tire barriers. On the back straightaway, Kenzie Rustin into the tire barriers as caution is out. We had a 3 wide battle and just nowhere to go for Rustin. She locked him down, and just as we talked so well about her, maybe put on the jinx as she got into the tire barriers at the end. And now Hemrick again pushes high through turn number 4 to the inside. Van Dorn. Van Dorn takes the spot. Trouble in turn number 3. The 12 car of DeVos has gone around, and yellow flag is out at lap number 228. Tim DeVos, who led for a while at the second half of the race, has spun in turn number 3, and we've got a yellow. 228 in. Does anyone make a pit stop now? I think the only 2 that did not come in and get tires were Hemrick, who is still running in the top 5. Flag in turn 4.
Great restart for Kyle Busch. He almost cleared down into turn 1. Will he of Chase Elliott? And now he does, but Elliott's going to fight back up high. Side by side again down the backstretch.
Kyle Jones off the pace, back of the field. He'll make the hard left turn into the infield. Clearing Chase Elliott is Kyle Busch. The lead duo breaks away from the field. Busch exits turn 4 high. Elliott looks to the bottom. They go to turn 1, side by side in turn 2.
One driver you can see every Sunday in the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series, and about 6 or 7 years from now, undoubtedly you'll probably see Chase Elliott there
all by himself. They come to the white flag in turns 3 and 4.
Through 3 and 4, Kyle Busch gets a great rotation. He is just checked out in his own area code right now. No lap traffic ahead of Kyle Busch. Chase Elliott and Johnny Van Dorn can only watch the black 51 car get smaller in their windshield.
For a final time in turn 3, they head to 4. The joinaps.com. Kyle Busch Motorsports 51 from Las Vegas, Nevada. Kyle Busch, 3 Rowdies in a row. Second to Chase Elliott. Third, Johnny Van Dorn. Fourth, Tom Thomas. Fifth spot, Ross Kenseth. Sixth, Brian Campbell. Seventh, Bubba Pollard. Eighth, Terry Van Heidsma. Ninth, Boris Yurkovic. 10th spot to the 12 of Tim DeVos. And I think Musen was 11th. 12th place, the 54 of Daniel Hemrick. And I'm watching Musen and Boris Yurkovic beat on each other after the caution flag at the checkered of tonight's race. So Musen and Yurkovic not happy with each other. Neither is DeVos in the 12 as Musen and DeVos go at it. And Yurkovic will turn the 99 car of Musen around in turn number 4 as those drivers' tempers were flaring at the end of the race tonight.
Well, everyone else is going to watch Kyle Busch light him up here on the front stretch when everybody goes by, if they all make it by.
So Yurkovic, the Joliet, Illinois driver in the 53, turned Musen down in turn 4 on the cool-down lap after the race. Musen able to pull away, not any damage to either of the cars, at least other than a little cosmetic damage. And Musen in the 99 will go to the pits where I'm sure tempers will continue to soar. Kyle Busch, the winner in the 51, pulling away with the checkered in hand, winning the 3rd one in a row. After the first one, he came up a little short. He wanted revenge. He got it the first time, and now he's got it 2 additional times.